Hey there, welcome to the Free to Be You podcast. I have wanted a place to have these conversations for so long. Convos that really matter. I have been having them anyway with the best humans in my life, but I've wanted to have them here with you, and now is the time. From personal stories to meaningful, high vibe conversations with inspiring guests, this podcast is created with one purpose: to give you permission to finally free yourself up and be you in every area of your life. To go from self-abandonment to full self-expression. We discuss everything from mindset, health, and vulnerability to relationships, parenting, and more. I'm Megan Gibson, aka Megs from here on, and I'm passionate about helping women uncover who they really are so that they can author a life they're obsessed with. I'm a life alignment coach certified as an ultimate contribution uncovered facilitator. More on this shortly. A mother, a writer, a wannabe surfer, and crazy in love with my life. I'm a living, breathing example of my work every day. I'm so excited to have Theresa Fitzgerald on the show today. Her and I have been in each other's world for many years, and on this show, we discuss how to turn those disempowering beliefs into our greatest strengths. We dive into the identity shift that we naturally make when our children grow up and leave the nest, as well as imposter syndrome and how that comes up when we bravely step into our true power. Theresa is an author, speaker, intuitive alchemist, and mentor. She has co-authored with international personal and spiritual development leaders such as Deepak Chopra, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Esther and Jerry Hicks, Mark Victor Hansen, and Neil Donald Walsh in the book named In the Spirit of Success. And her own book, Become Your Own Guru, How to Live an Empowered and Meaningful Life, became a holistic handbook for daily guidance all over the world. Theresa has helped thousands of women transform their lives through intuitive intelligence, the ancient art of alchemy, and advanced creative principles. She guides and mentors visionaries, leaders, and creators to break through the limitation of imitation, step out of the matrix of mediocrity, and carve their own path to success by embodying their greatness. With over 25 years devoted to the path of self-actualization, Theresa has the rare ability to effect rapid, life-changing personal breakthroughs in her clients. Theresa, thank you for being on the Free to Be You podcast. It's so good to have you here today, especially since you've been jet setting all over the world in the last few weeks, which I'm excited to hear about. But yeah, welcome to the Free to Be You podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Megs. It's a real honor and privilege to share with your audience. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, cool. Now, I really want to start this off by asking you about something because when we were planning this show, I sent you a couple of questions, and one of them was, what's your full name and your title? And you have them there: international best-selling author, which I love, and intuitive alchemist. So I thought it might be really cool. What do you mean by that? Because I have to say, that's a freaking cool title.
Yeah, it is, but no one knows what it means, right?
No.
So yeah, it's one of those things that it is actually difficult for me to explain in all reality. It is, I have the ability to be really intuitive. I go where people go, they can't see what they normally can see. So my intuition is really honed and accurate to dig up the lead, what we call the lead. And the lead is really, what's holding you back from being fully expressed, being who you are in the world, realizing your true potential and your greatness. So that's what the lead is. The lead is typically what we might refer to as your limiting beliefs, right? Or your dysfunctional patterns and conditions that compensate for things that you lacked when you were a child, that put you on a path to, that is not your true path. So you're looping and trying, and you're on the hamster wheel trying to achieve and be great at something. Yet that's actually what is driving that is the lead. It's what is not whole within you. So what I do as an intuitive alchemist is we bring light to the lead, and we transform it into your gold.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's That was a really good explanation. What do you mean you can't express it? That's fantastic. So good. And yes, so in line with why I wanted to have you on this show, because one of the things that, I'm super passionate about and obviously express it differently is helping people move away from self-abandonment and into their fullest expression. And so these kinds of things that you're talking about are definitely some of the things that they need to move through in order to get there. So I think it's going to be super powerful for us to dig into that a little bit more today, because I know that there's in particular some things that come up for a lot of people, especially if they're in a space where they're trying to express themselves in business or express themselves in a new way in the world. And I know for the women that I am speaking to here, where we're in that group where we've brought up our children and, we don't have the identity that we had as a mother when they were small. And so now we have the time and the space and hopefully the energy to be able to put into something that is for us. But there's this big gap in terms of what we're usually identifying as, and we need to uncover that. And usually, definitely was the case for me, what happens is the lead that you're talking about is louder and heavier than ever, because there's time for us to look at it, right? There's time for us to feel it, and it gets in the way. So I think that what's your sort of take on that, and just in terms of, obviously you've got to identify where you are, but then you've got to identify where you go. And I know that you sort of help people in the middle there, like myself. But what's your process look like in terms of, what would you suggest to somebody as a starting point?
Yeah, well, the first thing is we've got to get real about where we're at. We've got to be able to get really honest with ourselves and be willing to see the lead, which is one of the most challenging parts, for many women, because, they've had an identity, and they've tied their identity up in their children or their job or, what they're skilled at, what they've become confident in, right? And all of a sudden, that we talk about the empty nest or the children, that side of things, that's gone. Their how they served through their identity and how they were confident in terms of who they are and their role, it's gone, right? So what they might want to do is fill that up with something else, like immediately, right? Like it's like, okay, so I'll use those skills and put them into family and friends, like I'll mother other people. Like, let's just use that example. I'll use those mothering skills somewhere else, like unconsciously continue the mothering journey, or have the realization that, okay, that, who am I? Who am I without being the mum? And so that takes you into, digging deep into yourself or searching outside of yourself to fill a void. There's two pathways there. But the pathway of coming into yourself is where you really discover the gold, your authentic self and what you're here to do. And, in terms of contribution in the world, your purpose, you're discovering, greater aspects of yourself that is beyond the identity of the mother or the role, which is a beautiful role and a beautiful service in the world and very fulfilling. Yet there's something more now. Right.
Yeah. And also, as much as it is a beautiful role, and I mean, I love my children, all of them, it takes you away from who knew yourself to be before you were a mum, and you can abandon that part of yourself. And when I say self-abandonment, I don't necessarily mean it in always in a negative term. It is actually just a rediscovery process when you suddenly have the time and the energy and the space to put into something new. I love what you said as well about sometimes we look for externally to fill a void. And this is where I think that lead that you talk about, I call them the limiting beliefs, the things that the stories, the bullshit that we tell ourselves stops us from really truly looking within. It's easier to look out than it is to go within. And so that's why I think sometimes we end up in places where we don't really want to be, and we can stay there for a long time. And that prime, I mean, I feel like I'm just coming into my own now. Like when I turned 40, I was like, oh my God, I'm 40. What? Like, does that mean I'm old? And then it took me a little while to come out of that. But now I'm like a little bit further into that. I'm not going to say how old I am, but now I'm a little bit further into my 40s. I'm like, actually, I'm just getting started. But I've been through a lot of work and looking inward, as you know, and I know you and I have done some of that work together already in the past.
Yes.
And it's super important to be brave enough, like you said, to look within. And I love how aligned we are on that journey with people, for sure. So one of the things that you and I were riffing over before we came on today was just this feeling like, especially when you're going to start something new that you haven't done before, and you kind of need to, you need to crawl before you run, or walk before you run, but you want to run. And so stepping into that space and building something new can be terrifying. And there's this feeling of imposter syndrome. Let's just say it out loud. It's like, I just want to whisper it. We don't want to talk, but we do. We want to talk about that. So I know that's something that you have helped a lot of people through. So what is your take on this feeling and why we get that?
I love this topic, imposter syndrome, because it is something that we do experience, like, particularly women. I did some research on it, and women in leadership actually experience it a lot, even though from the outside you would not perceive that they have it. And this is the thing, externally, people look very confident externally, but on the inside, imposter syndrome is eating them up. They've still got those thoughts there, right? The thoughts that are, coming and saying you're a fake, you haven't got it in you to, achieve this, or to be at this place, or to go down that path, right? And the emotions that come with that. And this all stems from our limiting belief system that is created in our early childhood, right? But the belief system itself evokes imposter syndrome to be there, no matter what stage of your life that you're trying something new, or you're extending your boundaries, or you're growing into a new level of self-expression in the world. It's always going to be there, because it comes from our limiting belief system. Yet for me, it's like, well, I want to turn this on the head. Like, I want to define imposter syndrome actually as, looking at it from the perspective that you're imposter if you're not standing in your greatness, if you're not being authentic, right? So imposter syndrome comes up when people are actually stepping into their authentic path and their purpose and their greatness. Inside, they know it's there. Inside, they know it's their destiny. They know it. And so imposter syndrome, your belief systems will come up to oppose it. But if we can look at the fact that if we stand in our greatness and embody that energy, our authentic nature, it's actually those thoughts and those feelings and those beliefs that are showing up that is the imposter. That's the imposter.
Well, that's good. Because I think that I always say that our limiting beliefs, or the story that we have created, we've created it to, and definitely mine was created as a child, created it to keep ourselves safe. And so when we're branching out, we were just talking about this before as well, when we're branching out and we're putting ourselves out there and we're being brave and we're trying something new, we're not feeling safe. So it comes up to kind of pull us back into that safe zone. Yeah, but I love that. Let's turn it on its head. Let's say, well, the imposter is actually, that feeling is actually the imposter doesn't belong. That's so good.
Yeah, because it's not actually true. If we get real about it, like as a grown up, right? Because these are formed in childhood, and so it served us then. But here now, in our 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s, it's not actually true.
No,
we created that belief. We create that belief, but one of the things that I really serve people is identifying their truth and really embodying the truth of who they are. And so when we can do that, we embody the truth of who we are. Any of those thoughts, those feelings, the tension that might be inside that your body might throw up, like anxiety, it's just not relevant. Because you're standing in your truth, in your authenticity. And I know, Megs, you talk a lot to this as well, and this is free to be you, right? You're in that place that it's unshakable. Yes, will you have thoughts come up? Will you have emotion come up? Maybe, your hands might get shaky, but the inner strength that you have because you're in your truth is undeniable. And when you're in a state of being undeniable and in no doubt, that's this state that you have when you really know thyself and you stand in your truth.
And do you think that, I know this has been the case for me, that the more you stand in your truth, the more you crush out that feeling, that's the pathway is through. You can't get around it. You can't go under it. There's a song when I was a kid about that. Can't go over it. You can't. You have to go through it, right?
Yes.
You have to go through it. That's the only way to actually beat it. Well, not beat it, but it's always going to come up. And I said this on another show recently, that it's like another level, another devil. Every time you raise, every time you push yourself further, it's going to be there. So I think it's super important. And I know this is something that you help people with. And in a similar way to me, is to help people, give them the tools and the strategies so that when it does come up, that they can overcome it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved what you said there, Megs, that, I like to see it like we're talking to women and we're talking about raising children, and then we reach that space. It's like, it's a birthing process, right? You've got to go through it. You've got to birth the baby.
Yeah. Yep, you do.
There's contractions happening, but with women who have had children, we understand that, right? We understand that this is a process that you go through, and you get something absolutely magnificent out the end. And what you get is greatness. Yeah. What you get is that authentic version of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that journey into being more self-expressed, it is scary, because people that know you, and I'm definitely feeling this at the moment, people that know you as the non-expressed version, or the other version, the older version, when you start becoming more self-expressed and putting yourself out there, they don't necessarily like it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And do you know why? Because it shines a light on how under or non-self-expressed they are. And so you kind of almost like create this aura around you, or this space around you, where it's like they don't want to step into it because they kind of have to join you on the journey. It's easier to stay over there and go, what are you doing? Rather than step into it with you and go on the journey with you. And do you find that?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Over my 3 decades of transformational change, shifting myself, being more fully express myself, evolving. Absolutely. It's a natural part of it, because people are conditioned within your relationship as well. They get very used to how you show up in relationship, and you have a radical shift or change in how you show up through being more expressed in who you are, and different aspects, bringing different aspects of who you are and your focus and your attention. Of course, that relationship has been that way for a long time. It's only natural that there's going to be a bit of a shake-up there, because yes, there's that aspect that, yes, when you truly are in your light, as you stated, it does highlight any lead, let's call it, or darkness, in other people. It's like you become a mirror. The false side, the conditional side of relationship, or the conditional side of our nature, is highlighted.
And I think too, it gets highlighted. But what also can happen, which I'm also seeing happen over the last couple of years in particular, I've really worked on this particular area of my life, is you attract in people who love that energy as well. So it's still worth doing because yes, you may lose a few people here or there, but then you attract people in who are vibrational match to that new energy.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. And there's that saying, right? Some people are with us for a lifetime, and some people come and go through the seasons. And And that is evolution. That is human evolution. Why are we here? Why are we here? And it does come back to that, doesn't it? It comes back to, well, why am I here? Why am I here? Well, from my perspective, is to be fully expressed. It's like to be fully expressed and expand and leave a legacy, and all of the values that are important to me personally. And so that does require change. In fact, the Buddhists say the only thing that is permanent in this world is change.
I love that.
So but yes, it's beautiful, because it's not like you experience of loss. You actually, those people are still there. It's just that you experience, widening your wings and receiving new relationships, new people, new opportunities into your reality. And that's part of your wholeness, your creative juice, and fully expressing yourself through that. It's beautiful. The absolutely. Ego, our egoic nature, our identity will always look at, what am I losing? Our true self, our true nature will always look at where our expansion, where we're fulfilling, being fully expressed.
And that's a key point about why uncovering who you are, putting very, very specific language to that so we can be super intentional about how we show up, creates alignment. And that's one of the things, obviously, that I'm really passionate about helping women do, is figure out who they are and then author a life that's in alignment with that. And it's different. I know it's a kind of slightly different in the way that you approach it from a much more intuitive spiritual level, but it doesn't mean that it's not the same. It's completely the same. It's more of that self-actualization. The more that you understand yourself, the more self-realization you have, then the more you can actually make choices that are in alignment with that in a very intentional way. And I think that's one of the things that's really, really different about what you and I are talking about, is it's not just about pretending that we don't feel that way anymore, or pushing it away or ignoring it. It's about, no, this is actually discovering the truth of it. So then you can actually move towards the truth of it instead of moving towards what's not true.
Megs, absolutely. I've experienced your work, and it's been very profound for me, in terms of your body of work, in staying focused on my path in life, in terms of my values, in terms of my vision, my mission, to have your essence, your authentic nature come through in the way you beautifully serve and support people through that journey, has been actually instrumental in my journey. So thank you.
Thank you for that, by the way. I was kind of a little speechless. I was like, but definitely. And I loved that process, and getting to know you at that deeper level was definitely one of the reasons why we're still friends now, is because we get so aligned in what we're here to do. And so what are you working on at the moment? Because I've been seeing some pretty cool stuff coming through.
Yes, thank you, Megs. Yeah, what I'm working, I've had quite a shift in terms of what I'm offering now from what I was offering. So I'm basically offering now retreats, predominantly for women. My latest retreat that's coming up in September is called Presence. And it's about resetting and finding your natural rhythm in life. So it's set in a beautiful place here in Australia, and it's women coming together to really sort of come home to themselves in a retreat-like experience, but also find their own natural rhythm, right? Because society has brought us, conditioned us to a way that it isn't actually true for us in terms of how we live our lives. So it's coming into, a place where you can start to deep listen to yourself and listen to the rhythm of who you are, and live by that in the world as you create the life that is true for you, that is destined for you.
I love that. And when is this retreat happening?
It's actually happening at spring equinox, which is when, is a powerful time of balance. So it's from the 21st to the 24th of September.
Oh, that's not far away.
Yeah. Not far away.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't wait to hear how all of that goes. And you are also working, well, I mean, you've got your retreat coming up, and then you're also working obviously in the other spaces that you like. What else is it that you're doing at the moment that's sort of moving you forward?
I'm really moving along the speaker pathway. It is what I'm here to do, is to be a speaker, to hit the big stages, to share a message, to inspire. And I'm really leaning more into that. So previously I was really doing a lot, and particularly with COVID as well, a lot of coaching online, that type of thing. But I'm working more into, yes, stepping out onto the stages, sharing, inspiring, empowering through voice and through audience, and also VIP immersions. So they're one-to-one immersions where I get to be with someone in person and we dive deep for a day.
Amazing.
So it's super exciting.
I've got to ask you, because of what we were just talking about. So how is that imposter syndrome going for you, stepping out onto those big stages after working so closely with people before? I mean, that's huge, but that's so big. And I know you're going to smash it, but how are you kind of working through that?
Oh, absolutely. So as an alchemist, we're always turning our lead into gold. I mean, that's what we do. So it's like with alchemy, it's a way of life that we're always, we're in a place of awareness, and we're noticing, the lead, and then we're shifting it into our gold. So yeah, that step for me personally is quite, I'm stepping with a quantum leap, not just putting my feet out there, putting my feet in the ocean. I actually have stepped into a quantum leap with this. And the reason I can do that is because I have embodied my sense of greatness. I've embodied, that internal part of me that, I invested in going deep into myself, into my authentic nature. I know this is to be true, number one. There is no doubt about this is my path, this is my truth, and this is what I'm here to do. And when you hold that within you, it's, imposter syndrome isn't really there at all.
Amazing.
You might have the thoughts arrive, you might have the emotions arrive, your hand might shake, like your body might get a response, but that internal greatness that is within you, the authentic truth that is within you, is where the power is. Right. So the power's not with our thoughts, not with our emotions, not with our physical body getting anxious or whatever. The power is within your own heart, within your own self. And so that enables you to move forward with ease. It's like it allows you to move. I call it leaning into tension. The tension of thoughts and emotions and beliefs are there, but yet inside there's something more powerful pulling you forward. And that's how I deal with it.
Amazing. So I have to ask you one more question. So what specifically did you do to start that uncovering that greatness? Like what's the first thing you do to tap back into that, I guess?
It's what we've been talking about. It's being real with where you are here and now. What is showing up for me right here, right now? But we don't make what's showing up for me here, right now, mean anything about it. So what happens for people is they make their thoughts and their emotions and their beliefs mean something about them. But when we can be in self-awareness and observe, well, a thought is a thought, an emotion is an emotion, and a belief is a belief. All of these things actually come from your past life experiences and how you responded and what you believed or what you made things mean. Perception. And when you understand this is simply perception from my past, condition, program, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just perception from your past lived experiences. And when you understand that and you can see it as that, you're in the present moment, like you're being real, you're being true, you're seeing it for what it is. You're actually in your power when you're in the present moment with the lead. as long as you're not making it mean anything and not, you know, allowing it to pull you in and suck you into it being true anymore. You're actually in your greatness at that point in time. And in that point in time, you're connected to everything through all time and space, your intuition. You can receive the true reality, the true vision, the true truth in that moment and choose it. You've got to use your will to choose it, the truth, the higher level of truth, your greatness, you know, and it's a process. You then can utilize your intuition to move forward from that higher, I call it the higher level, the higher plane, you know, which is not your identity or your ego, which is where imposter syndrome is. It's actually your greatness leading. You're being led by your greatness. You're leading with greatness.
So good. And so simple. That's the funny thing, isn't it? Like we try to overcomplicate these things, and there's all these other ways that people try and bring this out on you. And when really it's actually quite simple. That's so good. I love that. Oh, you're full of wisdom, full of knowledge. I've really, really enjoyed this conversation. I reckon we could go for another hour at least. So maybe we have to get you back again, maybe after your retreat, and hear how that went. But thank you so much for providing so much value today. It's been, I know that for everyone who gets to absorb this and take it in, even just taking that one last takeaway away and applying that is going to make a massive difference. So thank you. Thank you for being here, Theresa.
Oh, thank you so much, Megs. It's been a real privilege, a lot of fun too. I always love talking with you because we are very aligned in terms of, you know, our mission and our vision, yet we have these unique flavors in how we move forward with it. And I think, you know, the more of us that are sharing this uniqueness out into the world, it gives that beautiful positive impact that you know, helps more of us women to rise, right? And it's amazing. Beautiful. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, I am going to pop all of the details that you've given me into the show notes here so people can connect with you if they would like to know more about what you do, especially the retreat. And if you've really enjoyed this conversation, if it's resonated with you and you feel like somebody could really benefit from hearing these gold nuggets, this lead that's been turned into gold on this call, then please do share it. I know that I have something really exciting that is going to be released in terms of helping you to uncover this and put language around this stuff. So that's going to be super exciting. So I'll be popping that in the show notes as well. Theresa, thank you. Thank you for being here. And I will see you all on the next show.